Well, September is here in New England. The leaves are beginning to turn, and it's my favorite time of year. Cider Mill has opened, and it's a great time to go out and look at the foliage, which is just beginning to turn a little. Next week, I'll be taking you on a road trip, and we'll be going to Marion, to Fairhaven, and New Bedford, and seeing some things I think you'll enjoy. But while we're waiting for our road trip, we haven't done a book look for a little while, and these are a few volumes I think that will be useful. You might like to purchase, or maybe they might have at your library, or you can get through a used book dealer. I'm sure everyone's familiar with Images of America series. There has been an updated one on Fall River. I don't have the new one, but these are very, very useful in putting you back in time. This is St. Mary's Church right across the street from the Borden house, and a picture of it inside. And dear old Father Hughes, who was one of the early priests there, and was there at the time of the Borden's tenure in 1892. So these are very valuable in seeing what the old city looked like. So this is one of two available on Fall River. And you probably wonder why Marion was such a destination place for Lizzie and the girls, other than Dr. Handy's fishing cottage, and we'll see where that was next week. It was an art colony, and people like actresses Maud Adams, and artists like Charles Dana Gibson, Edith Wharton, all of these famous folks would love to vacation in Marion. And so it was the it place to be if you weren't in Newport. Lovely little city, and Lizzie's destination for fishing on that Monday following the murders. As we know, she never got there. Another great idea is to show you the city in postcards, and Joe Thomas and Judith Boss have put out a number of these wonderful little history of the city using postcards and some actual photos. This one on Fairhaven is great. This is Fort Phoenix, you see on the cover, and Lizzie and Emma would have known that well. This is just up the street from Green Street, where the Brownells were living, and where Emma was visiting her friend Helen and Helen's mother, Rebecca Brownell. The Brownells were a whaling family, Captain Brownell. And when I got this book, I was delighted to find a picture of Captain Brownell, and we're going to look at that in a moment. But here's a great shot of Green Street. And it was lovely. It doesn't look a thing like this today. All of these great old elm trees that used to line the streets were uprooted during a couple of hurricanes. There was a big one in September of '44. So sadly, Green Street does not look like this now. But you'll love Fairhaven, and we'll certainly take a slow drive through there. Lots of old Victorian houses, a beautiful library, Victorian Town Hall, and the high school, which is very close to the cemetery where Eli Bence is buried. That is standing still, and it looks just like that. So these books really give you a window on the past, and I think you're going to enjoy seeing these. Here's the famous bridge that joins Fairhaven to New Bedford, and that is still there. We're going to be going over that. I think probably a week from today, next Thursday, we'll be going over this bridge. So we'll have a lot to see. These are great reference books. And here is one on New Bedford, also by Boss and Thomas. These, I'm not sure about how much these cost. They're usually under $20 in the soft cover reprints. What was exciting for me about this, of course, there are pictures of the courthouse where Lizzie's trial took place and County Street, but I got interested in the demise of the whaling in New Bedford because, as you know, New Bedford's famous as a whaling town. And who should be right in the picture showing us his handsome right profile than Helen Brownell's father, Captain Brownell. And these old fellows here were all part of the Stone Fleet agents and captains. At the beginning of the Civil War, some bright bulb in Washington got the idea to fill up the hulls of these old whaling, obsolete whaling boats, ships actually, with stones, drill holes in them, and then blockade the harbor. And I think it was only moderately successful, but that's Captain Brownell. I wish he had turned and looked out at the camera a little more. But it's fun to find these people that you've heard of and family names connected to Lizzie, and to see pictures of these actual people. Makes everything very real. And finally, my favorite one of this type of book is by Judith Boss, by herself on this book. Has a wonderful gold embossed, I'm not sure what you'd call that. Not an engraving, but it's sort of raised in gold of the old City Hall, which was a beautiful building that Andrew Borden himself actually helped work on, along with Southern Miller, when he was working on becoming a good carpenter. And it gives you the whole history of the city through pictures, the maritime history with the Fall River Line boats, and of course the mills and everything that we know Fall River for. Naturally, there's a section devoted to Lizzie. I like this picture particularly because it hasn't been cropped. This is Lizzie on the front porch of the Cobble House on Farewell Street in Newport. And usually what you get is this. But here you've got a full picture of the chair, the book with her finger marking its place, and the little ring on her finger. A lot more detail. It's this great picture. And then, of course, the crime scene photo of Abby Borden and Andrew Borden. But what I wanted to show you, and now I've lost the spot, of course. Here it is. You might recall that Andrew Borden's barber was named Pierre Leduc. And lo and behold, here is an 1898 picture of Pierre Leduc standing in the front door, wearing his typical work frock that was worn at the time by all the sales clerks. And Whitehead's is located at the corner of Market and South Main Street. Right now, Union Savings Bank is there. Whitehead's was one of the large meat and produce markets in the city. But there's Andrew Borden's barber. And I got a big kick out of seeing that. I'm going to try to scan it and maybe blow the face up a little bit so I can get a better view of him. But this is a wonderful book that shows you various buildings that Lizzie would recognize. And here is her church, the Central Congregational. When it had ivy on it, it didn't always have the ivy. And just so many buildings that are connected to the Borden case. And also, this is enhanced with real photos of the city. This is a view of the Ironworks property at the bottom of Central Street around 1888. You see what a booming city it was. So these are really, really helpful to look at, to read before you plan your trip to Fall River, New Bedford, Fairhaven, Marion, Taunton. And we'll be visiting a lot of these places next week, including Lizzie's favorite restaurant, where it used to be at Parker House, Eli Bentz's Pharmacy in New Bedford, the Courthouse, the Green Street House where Emma stayed, Fort Phoenix, Dr. Handy's Cottage, and all these things are coming up for you next week. But for now, I'm going to have some cold apple cider, and I will see you soon.